Hello, everyone, and welcome to the eQIP Roundtable Part 1. For our presenters, we have Kendra McCrae and Mark Laudner, and Brandon Howlett may be joining them. So my name is Corinne Andriola. My pronouns are she, her, and I'll be your room moderator during this session. Please reach out to me on the chat box if you have any questions or if you're experiencing technical difficulties. And I did want to note that this session is being recorded. Before we start, let's go through some virtual guidelines. All participants are automatically muted to prevent background noise. Make sure your Zoom name matches the name you used to register for the conference. To change that, click Participants, find yourself, click More, and then Rename will appear as an option. We'll have a QA session at the end, but please send your questions during the presentation using the chat box. And do please make every effort to stay until the end of the session. And the presenters have indicated that they will go ahead and introduce themselves. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Corey.
Kendra, would you like to start?
I can.
Thank you.
Hello. Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you sit. As right now for me, it's currently 12:15. So good morning, good afternoon. My name is Kendra McCrae. I'm with the University of Kentucky. I am a TCOM trainer and coach. So I'm really excited to be here to be a part of this conversation. Also, I work collaboratively with Brandon Howlett on our eQIP organization or base camp. So I'm really excited to have this conversation as we're bringing the collaboration that we have with eQIP to the conference. So welcome to our day 2 of our virtual conference as we're going to talk about eQIP. And so I'd like to also send it over to Mark.
Thank you so much, Kendra. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Mark Laudner. I'm a senior policy analyst at the IF Center, along with my colleague Kendra. I have done over the last, actually since FFPSA, a good amount of work with states on their implementation of the QRTP planning. And part of that is training QIs, supporting the development of some of the required documentation for QIs. And so, I think out of that, in conversations with Brandon and with Kendra and with John, there would seem to be a need to create a community that could provide support so people were not out there filling that role as a QI or an independent assessor without someone there to check in. And in some states, they're using the CAMs as part of their qualified individual or independent assessor process. In other states, they might be using different tools, but no matter which tool people use, what we're really trying to do is really help people meet the aspirations of the legislation, which is to do person-centered care, to involve youth and their families in those placement decision makings at the higher levels of care, and to see if we can use that, as people in California have done, these congregate care settings, as sparingly as possible, and only when truly needed or recommended by the needs of that youth or family. So I'm excited to be here with this group today, and we're recording our conversation. And so I hope you'll be able to participate with us in discussing some of the key issues of QIs and IAs. All right, I'm going to share a slide deck and pass it back to Kendra, but I'm going to work the slides here, so just give me 1 second. Share my screen. Just let me know if you can see the screen once I share it. Are you able to see that?
We can.
Okay, great. All right, so the first thing that we'd like to do is just to give you a quick walkthrough of our time together, and then move on to some introductions. So we have a part 1 and a part 2. And the first part is we're going to get to know each other a little bit, provide an overview of Basecamp, and then do a video and facilitate a discussion. And then part 2, we're going to share another one of the eQIP videos and have a broader discussion. Okay, so that's that piece. Now, Kendra's going to take the next slide of just walking us through our introductions.
All right, so let's get to know each other a little bit, as it's a intimate group on here today. So we want to hear from you. So if you do not mind, let's do a quick little introduction. If you can share your name, your role, and any experiences that you have as a QI or IA, or if you don't have any of those experiences, just tell us, right? What brought you here today? As we are having some great conversations to help with our QIs and our independent assessors. So how about this? Let's do a quick little popcorn of introductions. And, actually, Mark, if you don't mind, I'm probably going to unspotlight us for just a second. I should have removed myself first. That's scary. Just so that we can talk to each other real quick and just do some quick introductions. So let's start off with Erica. I think Erica was on here first. So Erica, if you don't mind introducing yourself, tell us who you are, what you do, and your experience with being a QRR independent assessor.
Okay, I don't think I'm either one of those, but what I am is an ER supervisor for LA County, and we are charged with starting everything. Starting everything regarding cases when we promote them, right? And so part of our job is to try to do as fidelity as possible, cans. And getting people identified on those cans that either have strengths or don't. And someone was sharing in a training earlier that we are not utilizing them with parents. And that's true from what I know. Some offices are a lot more advanced with their cans and doing really impressive stuff. And some of us are just kind of sort of getting on board now. And so we are just now at my office, I'm trying to get the fidelity of using cans language in the case plans before they go out and do the CFTs, which doesn't always catch up, but we're trying.
And a lot of that information that you're gathering and putting into the cans does help you with that placement recommendation, right? So
right.
Getting placed into STRTP, right? I think I said right. Did I the acronyms correctly? Or some may call them QRTPs in other states. So yes, that's really great information. Thanks, Erica, for being on. Let's move over to Marcy. You're on mute.
How about now?
I can hear you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Marcy. I'm a qualified individual assessor with the County of Orange. I'm here because, I heard there's going to be some updates to the QI reports. So I'm wondering if there's updates to that. What else? What did I miss, Kendra?
No, I think that's it. How long have you been doing it?
Since almost exactly 2 years, since 2022.
Awesome. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Okay, let's move over to Makina.
Hi, everyone. Let me turn on my... Hi. I'm McKenna Roble. I actually work with Marcy. I'm a clinical psychologist in the County of Orange, and I just stepped in briefly to help with QI assessments because we were kind of inundated, but I've only been doing it about, 6-8 months, something like that. So I'm relatively new to the process.
Thank you for being here. All right. And then we have Miriam. I believe I'm saying your name right, but if I'm not, I apologize.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
I'm having issues with my camera, so I'm unable to turn it on, but I actually work with McKenna and Marcy. I am a full-time QI assessor, and I've been doing it for about 6 months.
Awesome. Awesome. And then we have Diana. All right,
Diana, are you there with us?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll give her a minute then.
Yeah.
So
we have some other
just
folks on here too, right?
yeah, so let's go through the rest of the team.
Yeah,
Yep.
we have Ken McGill.
I am here to learn about eQuip. My journey in utilizing the cans and understanding the TCOM has been serving the rollout of New Jersey's Children's System of Care. I started at the Contract Assistant Administrator, so when I first came across this tool in Communimetrics and meeting John Lines and the larger team, seeing how it can be incredibly useful, and especially looking into the quality assurance and that part of it, which brought me to my next role in the care management world. And so my amazing individual, Ada Fuentes, and I were utilizing the cans to do some really great work to reinforce the importance of data, and then working at Rutgers for the years that I had to support the training, connecting it all together. So seeing how this all fits together and learning from you all today is going to be a wonderful experience. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ken. And then we can move over to Lynn. You must
Hello.
have known that I was going to call you next.
Yes, I totally was expecting it. So, but all I'm going to say is my name is Lynn Steiner. So good morning. And I work with Kendra, Mark, Brandon, and Ken, and Corey, I think. I'm involved in scans and other TCOM tools related work. So I don't really know that much about eQIP. So for me, this is just sort of just to learn.
Awesome. Thanks, Lynn. And then we have Brandon.
Good afternoon for some and good morning to others. Brandon Howlett, Senior Policy Analyst at the Center. And in terms of the eQuip work and eQuip knowledge, I work specifically with Kendra and Mark on most things eQuip. And so I'm here today to learn about your perspectives out in the rest of the world, the rest of the country, to learn about your perspectives, the work that you do regarding with qualified individuals, independent assessors, and STRTPs, as well as QRTPs. Basically to get a better sense of how we might be able to better serve you all as a collaborative. So you'll see me sort of lingering in the background, typing into the chat box, just providing information here and there. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon. And we did have some that joined us after we did do the introductions. And then Diana, I skipped you. I moved past before you were able to get off mute. So I apologize. So Diana, do you want to share? And then we will move to Sylvia.
Hi, my name is Diana Flaggs. I work for the County of Los Angeles Department of Children and Family Services, and I manage the Contract Compliance Division. And we do technical compliance on our foster family agencies and our short-term residential therapeutic programs, our transitional housing placement programs for non-minor dependents, and our community treatment facilities. The two that are licensed in California are in LA County. And so the CANs should be informing the needs and services plan. And so the more that I have about that, the better I can support my team in making sure that we're making sure that the voice of the CANs and the family is embedded in all areas of the needs and services plan, which is a California Title 22 requirement for children that are placed in licensed facilities. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sylvia, we're just doing some quick introductions. So if you don't mind, just telling us who you are, where you're from, and then any experience you have as a qualified individual or independent assessor.
Hi, good morning. Yes, I'm one of the clinicians here in Orange County with the healthcare agency. I think we have a couple of peers here. So yeah, I've done the qualified individual role for about a year. And so that's been my experience with the qualified individual tools and gotten really good at using the cans, but the previous a session taught me that maybe I'm not doing it as well as I thought I was doing. So I'm here grateful to learn all the new things and tools to implement with the youth.
Thanks, Sylvia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you, Sylvia. I do think too, and this is something that this came up yesterday. I don't know if you were in one of the sessions where I'm trying to remember which. It was towards the end of the day. Someone made a comment about how, they were either surprised that sometimes people weren't doing it with the youth or the family, and it's seeming like that's unacceptable and all this stuff. And I think, we are aspiring to help shift and change systems, and we have to start somewhere. And a lot of times, even in trainings that I'll do for Decans tools, is say, try to get comfortable with the tool, build your expertise, work with your colleagues, try to get that accurate story down. And when you feel like you've reached that level of comfort, then you can figure out how to do this collaboratively in a consensus-based way. And so I never want to impart, or I don't want people to feel like, hey, I've been doing this wrong, or maybe I'm not. I want people to say, well, I'm not probably maximizing the utility of this process, right? Which is a very different statement than I'm not doing it the right way. Because this is really a get on the bus kind of strategy. And we want everybody to kind of join us in this work. And especially, those of you, and probably like myself, who worked in child welfare for a long time, I was trained to fill out forms. That's how my training was. And it wasn't to partner with people or make sure their voice was captured. And so a lot of times this is a big shift. So I always want people to feel like, not am I doing it wrong or right? Maybe I can start to incorporate new ideas or build up my skills in doing it collaboratively and consensus based. All right, so that was just an aside because Sylvia comment. Now I have a second question though, because we do have a California heavy group here. Now the first couple people who introduced themselves said they were from the county of Orange. And I believe Sylvia said she was from Orange County. So I want to know, I'm a native New Yorker, so I need to know, what is the right way to say this? Is it the county of Orange or Orange County?
It's both.
Tomato?
Both, but the ones that have lived here longer, just Orange County.
All right. Okay. Well, good to know. Thank you, guys.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's just do a quick minute or two, because in talking, when you're introducing yourselves, I was trying to get a sense of the experience we've had in the room. So I'm going to go back to sharing, and there's a Mentimeter. So if people have their devices, their phones handy, that would be great. Let me share my screen. I hesitate to call it a phone. I almost never use my phone as an actual phone to talk on the phone. So, all right, let's get to our next slide. You can see these slides, yes?
Yes.
Okay, you see then a Mentimeter pop up very quickly. There we go. It's gonna give you a QR, or you can just go to that if you want to do it on your workstation. Just tell me if you scanned in. Okay. Give it 30 more seconds and I'll move on to the next slide. And then you can just fill out the question. So once you scan into the eQIP Roundtable Mentimeter, you go through. And so our first question on here was, how long have you been a QI or an independent assessor? It said less than a year, 1 to 2 years, more than 2 years. And so those who are not on there are less than a year, right?
Yeah.
Who are not, rather, a QI or an IA would be less than a year. Okay. And then the next one we have is, how many times have you gone through the process, the placement and recommendation process with a youth/family? All right, so more than 10. So we have a group of people who are here to learn, maybe not walk through the process, and then a lot of people we can learn from. And so that's going to be helpful to guide our work. Okay.
All right. So some of you may, and I believe this is next, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we're going to move into a video, right? And so just really talking about what Family First Preventative Services Act is. And so with eQuip, which is is really a learning collaborative of QIs and IAs getting together to really support each other in the work that we're doing. It's important that you have a place. I know Mark was talking about it earlier. Well, he spoke to it earlier. You know, a lot of this, every single state had to create this, right? And so how do we then connect everyone so that you can feel supported and have a place that you can get resources from? And so born eQuip. And we produce and create content to support you in the work that you're doing. So one of our first videos that we created was this video really explaining what Family First is and how does that impact our work that we're doing and we are seeing in the child welfare system. So Mark, I think that is the next video. We're going to show this, and this series is called Equipment. If you can see, we are equipping you with the tools that you need to be successful. And so we're going to go ahead and press play for this video, and then we're going to talk about it. So let's look at our equipment video.
Great. So I want to warn you too that when I share my screen, sometimes it gives me that button to optimize video or sound, and I didn't have that on there. And so I'm wondering if that's, hopefully that doesn't impact. I think I'm a host on this session, so it shouldn't be an issue, but let me start it. If you can't hear it well, we'll just stop and we'll restart. Okay.
Hey, Kenzie, you seem a bit frustrated today. What's going on?
Oh. Left out of this meeting.
Can you
We're not hearing it?
Yeah, it's really low.
Okay. So let's let me regroup and see if I'm going to stop sharing. And let's see if someone else can share the video in a way because I'm just not seeing that as options. Oh, wait, hang on. Share sound. So it's not letting me optimize video, but it is saying I can share sound now. All right, so let's do that. So optimizing video, there we go. Okay, let me start again. All right, take two, everyone. Should be able to see this now. Oops. Scrolling through.
Ugh.
Hey, Kenzie, you seem a bit frustrated today. What's going on?
Oh, but I am. I just left out of this meeting and they told me that I'm going to be over a new project. Said something about me being a QI. They also mentioned a bunch of letters. I don't know, F, R, H, W, O, A, something like that. I can't remember what it stands for.
You mean Real Housewives of Augusta or Family First Prevention Services Act?
You're funny. It's the second one that you mentioned.
Yeah, I figured that much. I can give you a little bit of information about what FFPSA is and how to describe it to others. The Family First Prevention Services Act enhances support services for families to help children remain at home and reduce the use of unnecessary congregate care placements by increasing options for prevention services, increase oversight for placements, and enhancing the requirement for congregate care placement settings. These are like the services that we already provide to our kiddos, like prevention services, mental health services, foster care, substance abuse services, and in-home parenting skills programs.
Oh, okay. I understand. But what makes it different than the work that we already do as an agency?
Some of our agency programs are meant to stabilize a youth situation in more of a generalized way. However, Family First programs are designed to take it a step further by focusing on prevention strategies to keep children safely at home. So unlike most of our agency programs, the Family First approach involves thinking about providing high-level services in a community-based model. It allows for the funding of prevention services that will reduce entry into foster care and prevent disruptions in adoption and guardian placement for children.
That makes a lot of sense. But I'm not sure that I would describe it to a family that way.
I get it. You want to describe it in a way that makes it easier for families to understand Family First initiatives. So this is how I describe the basics. I say Family First's primary goal is to keep kids safely at home. It also provides support for kinship caregivers and helps children remain with them if they're unable to return home. So when describing Family First programs, I also mention that it improves services for transition age youth by giving them access to additional resources for a longer time.
Oh yeah, I'm totally still in that. Keep going.
The last thing that I describe is that Family First allows us to assist the child with accessing aftercare services post-QRTP discharge for at least 6 months.
What is a QRTP?
If we're gonna get into that discussion, I better fire up a pot of coffee.
Okay. Some really incredible voiceover work on that video. I don't know if you all experienced that, but
Yes, I recognize some of those voices. Brandon's is like so obvious.
Exactly. Yeah.
Can that video be shared with us at the County of Orange County? We could definitely use that because we do presentations to the programs in social services.
So yes. Yeah, because that video is on YouTube. But if
it's on the YouTube channel?
Yeah, it's on the YouTube channel. But again, if you're having struggles embedding it in a thing or you need it to exist somewhere else, we can always find a way to just send you video files too. But it's probably the easiest just to grab it from YouTube. And then we'll send you those links. My hunch is Brandon's already doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
thank you.
Sure.
But that's the reason why we're here, to support you guys, right? And so to create content like that, and we do have a video that we're going to share for the part 2 as well that kind of helps understand what QRTPs are or STRTPs, where you sit. So.
Okay. And so now I think what we're really interested in doing, and I think you've led us to this discussion really well. I'm going to share this one more time, but we're hoping to just have a discussion. We were thinking about some small group breakouts, but we're a enough group here that we can have a discussion with your teams about what supports have you found useful in your role as a QI, and what additional supports do you think are needed. And this is, again, to Kendra's point, this is to help us kind of fulfill what we view to be our role here, is to help us answer those questions. So we'll open it up. I'm going to stop sharing so we can see each other again, but just want to get people's thoughts and ideas, and we can move back to hopefully gallery mode. Great. Thank you so much, Corey, for helping with that. So maybe the first question then, what supports have you found useful in your role as a QI or IA up to this point? Anything? Oh, should we do a demo of the base camp?
Yeah,
Kendra?
We can have this conversation, and then we can definitely do
Great.
a base camp. Mm-hmm. So what are some things that are useful? What are some things that are working well, right? We have some folks that's been doing it for 2 years, a year. I think Sylvie said 6 months.
Yeah, so I can say for myself, I kind of came in as there was like a shift in people for the QI position. So I wasn't necessarily as aware of what the role was. So what's been helpful for me is the communication that's been coming down through like TCOM and through the Pride Foundation on information of like what other like counties are doing, because I think in Orange County it was kind of implemented really fast. So we've kind of we've learned and relied on each other as a team. So that's probably what has been the most helpful, the communication that comes through email through you guys.
Awesome.
I'd say one kind of piggybacking off of Sylvia, one challenge we found was how to complete the report. So we were given this template that we were supposed to use, but there was no really guidelines. Or I didn't start as soon as it came out. I started maybe a year after the whole process started. So I just did what the person that was training me did, but for example, there's like this section that it's like a big chart and relating to the cans, and there's always like discrepancies as to how we each fill that out. So we did find a cohesive way that we all do it in the same way here in Orange County, but like we're still not sure if we're doing that right. And then some other challenges have been just communicating with social workers. Sadly, they're so incredibly busy that to them, sometimes QI is just another hurdle for them to jump over. Some of them value the process and do see the light as to what the purpose of QI is. Others just see it as more paperwork. So, there's that. And then as far as the cans, piggybacking a little bit off of what Mark said at the very beginning after Sylvia shared her efforts of trying to do more with the cans, we've been really nudged by our supervisor or even all of our higher ups to be more collaborative when it comes to the cans, but more collaborative with other service providers. So we could definitely do better with including the family members. But I think collaborating with other service providers is important, because both social services and us as behavioral health clinicians both do the cans. And sometimes I see their cans and I think, this is way off. Like, I can tell they just rushed through this. So I think taking a minute to have a conversation between service providers to say, hey, why did you rate it this and not this? And let's come to a consensus as to what we think the best rating is for these kiddos. So those are some of the things that I've seen.
Awesome, Marcy.
Thank you for sharing that, Marcy. I'm taking some notes while you're talking. Just want to highlight some things there. So great. Anyone else want to share what they've had helpful things in their role where supports may be needed?
What we've been trying to do is to reach out to previous clinicians, wraparound team, to see like the timeline for the cans. Because what we notice is that sometimes we're duplicating or we're doing one thing and then they're doing another. So we've been trying to reach out to the previous STRTP if they're going to a new one, or wraparound team, and just see, when did you last do the cans? What type was it? Get a copy of it so we can continue off their timeline instead of creating a whole nother timeline. That in itself has been difficult because sometimes it's hard to get a hold of service providers. But I think since we started doing that, I think it's been a lot helpful in trying to clean up the timeline.
Absolutely.
Great. So yeah, I mean, similar to what Marcy suggested then too, like collaboration across service providers, it might be a key barrier to address in your work.
So
Others who haven't had a chance to share yet?
we did have a question in the chat for Marcy.
For Marcy. So Brandon is helpfully creating some response questions. I don't know, Marcy, can you speak to that a bit?
Yeah.
Like I said, one discrepancy I think is sometimes they're racing through and not really giving it the time of day that it should be given. But second, it's the family story. Everyone gets different stories from the family. And I may have gaps. Like I just did the CANS training or the CANS recertification, and they're like, start at a 0. If there's no information about this particular strength or behavior, it should be a 0. So maybe there's something that I don't know about, or maybe there's something that the therapist or the social worker just happens to not have heard this part of their story. So that could be it too, because there's so many rating items. There's a lot that goes into it, and a lot of information that we need to gather in order to accurately assess. Something as little as asking about sleep. I honestly don't really ask the client, how are you sleeping? But the therapist would know more about that. So sometimes I'll see it in our EHR that the therapist would have done the CANS already, and I'm just doing an update, and I'll see they rated sleep as a 2. So I'm like, oh, they are having an issue with sleep. So that's why I think it's so important, and I'm glad us at Orange County are trying to make improvements to collaborate more with each other on that, because we all get different parts of the story. And then the social worker can often be seen as the bad guy. So maybe the client doesn't want to disclose certain things, where I come from a perspective of, hey, we're here to help you. We're here to talk about what worked and what didn't work in your last placement so that you're more successful in the future. So coming from that more of a good guy lens, they might disclose a little bit more to me. So those are some of my thoughts on that.
Thanks for sharing those. Yeah, I've had that experience too, and I wonder maybe it would be helpful to create a guide towards how you synthesize or build upon a previous CANS, or how you address things when you feel like the one I received is, maybe, to use your words, Marcy, originally was like, it looked like they kind of rushed through it a little bit. Because I do think there's a big difference between, hey, I got a prior assessment and there's not a lot on here. There's only a couple things that they look like they're working on. And I know that this family has a bunch of intense needs. How I might reach out to that person who did it prior and say, hey, you know what? Thanks for sharing that I see you're working on these areas. When I met with the family, I think there's a lot more there. I want to just touch base with you about that. And that's very different from, hey, I got a CANS assessment from somebody where they have a lot of prioritized needs and things that they're working on that are not consistent with the story I heard from the youth and family. And I'm a little concerned when we might be pulling in different directions or not on the same page about what really is going on. And so that conversation is going to be a very different conversation. So listening to you talk, I think there might be a need for maybe both of those kind of just supports to help guide both of those types of conversations. I don't know if others have thoughts based on what Marcy shared.
Are you seeing the same things?
Yeah, I would like to add that I have seen the same things, and also the other way around. I know that for us, for social services, the social workers have a very quick turnaround, and I think in their learning, they're not very equipped on the CANS, just because of their caseload and how they sign on and have like an immediate high caseload. So I have seen the discrepancies of For example, one that pops up to my head right now, it's that there was in the section where it's just like sexual like behavior or like I can't think of it right now, where it basically she was saying because the youth had an experience with like sexual abuse that they were displaying behaviors. And I had to ask her, like, why would you mark this so high? And she's like, oh, well, because of the sexual abuse history. And I said, no, that would mean that they're showing like aggression towards other kids. Like they're doing something, not because it got done to them, because that changes their plan. Like wherever they would go, they'd be like, oh, this kid can't be placed with this other kid because they might be sexually aggressive to them. And then she was like, oh, I don't know. Like, she's like, I didn't read it that way. And I'm like, okay, well, that's why I kind of have to have this consultation with you, because these numbers are really high on this sexual history area. And I'm like, the court report doesn't read any of this. The mom's not reporting that this, 12-year-old had any of these behaviors. And it's just like very alarming to see that the sexual aggression is so high. And so it's kind of those discrepancies that I know there's a lot of staffing and it's still new even for social services, but there are those moments that the communication is the only way to kind of make sure we're doing our part as, marking those numbers correctly for whatever the placement needs are.
Yeah. And if you don't have that collaboration, then this youth could be placed at this higher level, right, of care than they really need. And so I like to call it as we're labeling our youth that doesn't need to be labeled, right? Saying that a youth have a sexual aggression is very difficult to place in a lower level of care, and they absolutely didn't. So that's really important. But you didn't spoke to the fact that you had those conversations, you had that collaboration, you did this as a teaming approach, and that's what this is about, right? Ensuring that the youth and the families are getting what they need, but not doing it on our own. Having those conversations with the social workers, having those conversations with the families and the youth is going to help make the recommendations that we need for our youth. So that was really important. Thanks for sharing, Sylvia.
Yeah, thank you, Sylvia. I do know too, haven't had that experience, that I try not to get worked up, but like just feeling really concerned, like, hey, we're documenting stuff about this youth that's really not helpful to them and inaccurate. And that sometimes I would, and I don't know if this has been your experience, Sylvia, ever, that sometimes people would push back and say, no, like they had this experience, so we gotta mark this here. And I would always then say, hey, I'm just gonna pull in our team expert on this or whatever. And you can always pull in someone from the Brave Foundation, from the IF Center as well, and say, hey, let's just get a quick consult if you feel like, this is kind of damaging to the youth to have it recorded this way, to Kendra's point, labeling, and we want to get it right. And I don't want to be the one to have to tell people they're doing it wrong, to maybe just pull in somebody as well, because it is, especially this role specifically, the QI role, the IA role, is critical in the minds of the people who wrote this legislation, to shifting away from unnecessary use of congregate care. And the one thing that can get in the way of that is inaccurate information about the youth that we're serving. So Sylvia, thank you so much for raising that. I think that's such a great example of where there's discrepancy that has to be addressed. Ken, you were putting your hand up there?
I didn't know.
Yes. I was thinking too, is the shift around, not getting something wrong, and the shift away from a form to complete versus the conversation. I know when I was doing community selection and people were asking every question not to miss something, same thing happened to a young person and they scored a 3 under fire setting. And I'm like, what's going on? And then ask questions around, they lit a match when they were 8 years old and it accidentally caught the drape on fire, never to pick up a match again. And I'm like, fire setting is quite different. Well, I don't want to miss something. Well, that's one way to look at it. But if we find out the 3, if that person goes into treatment and receives a treatment that they don't necessarily need at all, we'll be doing harm. And just having that shift that we're not going to miss anything. It's a conversation. And I was going to put in the chat, the TCOM conversations had so much information there. Mine, if you read them, it's a great sleep aid. So just to give you a heads up, but I use the vowels because everyone said to me as a clinician, there's no way 50 items, and New Jersey had 51. You're not going to catch everything. Actually, you're going to find a lot about families through conversation. So anyway, I hope that helped. But we need to. People are nervous they're going to get something wrong, miss something, and that whole thing about culture and climate within an agency, organization, a state, a system. We're here to help. You come from that premise, and you don't want to harm someone. That's good. We want to keep everyone safe at home if possible. And when they're not at home, how can we get them back into their home? So thank you. And of course, the plane had to fly over. Nothing was going on in New Jersey. Okay.
We didn't hear it. Thank you, Ken, so much for sharing. This has been a great conversation. Anyone else? I think before we leave, I want to definitely share our eQIP Basecamp. And if you're not already a member, you can let us know by putting your name and email in the chat, and we will make sure that you become a member of the Basecamp before today is over. Anyone else? And thanks, Ken, for sharing that in the chat. It is not a boring read. I don't know why he says that. So please reach out and have some really good reading materials. All right, so I'm going to share my screen just so that we can see Basecamp. We've been talking about it a lot, right? And so we created the IF Center. We created a real electronic kind of collaborative, right? Hence, eQuip is the electronic, right, collaborative that we have for our partnerships with our QIs and independent assessors. So these are all the different resources and things that we have on here to support you as you're doing this work. As you can see, we have learning collaboratives every quarter, and we get together. We have great conversations. If you've ever been a part, the last conversation, which is funny that you mentioned it, Marcy, was on documenting documentation for the reports, for the QR report. Like, that's hilarious, right? So just having those opportunities to have those conversations to ensure that, when you're filling it out, that you're doing it correctly, that you're doing these sections right. So if you did not attend, please let us know, and maybe, Brandon can share his resources that he provided during that last learning collaborative. And so our next one is scheduled for December the 26th, which we will most likely not have during that particular date. That's probably going to have to change the times. But we are going to have one sometime in December before the next one in March. So once you're in here, these are our discussion boards. We have a lot of different conversations, as you can see here. We give some recaps of the learning collaborative. How did those go? How were they supportive? We sometimes even add some jokes to your Friday. So just look in there and just laugh, because sometimes, guess what we need in life is some laughter. So we just have a lot of different things that we place in here and that are a real support for you as QIs and IAs. We also have all the links and downloads. And if you select jurisdiction, you will see that every single state and some territories are located here. And we have them color coordinated to see these are states that have their plans are approved and they're good to go. We still have some states that have not had approved plans, some that have submitted, like yellow, they're submitted, but they're not yet approved. So all of these different resources are on here for you to explore, see what other states are doing. How's it going? You'll see here, we have a lot of folks on here from California. So we have all the resources for California on here, including, even the presentation that was done for DSS. So if you wanted to know, like, what did that look like, right? What information was shared? We have those resources, and then also directly to the website for you guys. So just note that we place a lot of different resources in Basecamp. So if you, again, are not a part of Basecamp, please let us know so that we can provide, get you connected so that you can have all this great information. We also put any new relevant articles, things of that nature, any updates. We always upload them here first. And so you'll be able to see anything that's new. I actually, before we even came on, was looking up, any new updates, and nothing has really been published that is really new, except for one article that I believe was shared to Brandon and I a couple of weeks ago by Mark. So that needs to be updated on here. So again, any resources that we have, we want to make sure that we are putting these resources in to support you. Anything that I miss, Mark or Brandon, in Basecamp? If you're not a part, please let us know, so that we can definitely get you connected.
Now, thanks for that walkthrough, Kendra. And Brandon, thank you. You're making some kind of noting the color coordination for some of those as well in the chat. The one thing I will say that, like all of these platforms that are created, try to increase people's engagement and use of those. So your own ability to not only post things, but just to share, like, hey, this is a place where I use or I go for support. Join us there, because you can invite people to join this collaborative in the same way that we would. The link that Brandon shared before in the chat about, there is a button on there just to click to join the group, and you can forward that to people too, to say, if you meet other QIs, you can say, hey, there's some resources here, or just if you come across something that someone else has, say, feel free to share it there. So thank you again, Brandon, for putting that there. Okay.
I have one last plug, Mark. I promise that I'm going to be finished.
Go for it.
One last plug. So you asked about the equipment series, right? So we did put in the chat the first equipment video. However, we have other videos on YouTube. So I want to make sure that if Brandon can throw in the chat the TCOM channel, because we have other videos within eQIP. So I'm going to actually share my screen so that you can see this. We've done a lot of work to try to support you and give you different resources. So this is our actual eQIP channel, which is different from the equipment channel that we have on YouTube. So the eQIP channel, we have a lot of different resources. One, getting you introduced to Basecamp. So if you have any questions about that, you have those options here. But on top of that, we also have some discussions. We interviewed someone that was in the room when FFPSA was actually being developed. They were there, right, where it happened. And we did a interview with him. We actually talked to a judge who makes recommendations for placement and what he would need, right? Whenever he's making placement recommendations, what are some good information that the judges need to have to make those recommendations? And then we also had some great conversations with Bob Lieberman, who helps with the getting us informed about residential treatment, STRTPs, QRTPs, and other residential treatment facilities and how they can be trauma informed and how they can really help with the process of getting our youth from placement to back at home, and how you can do that as successful as possible. So don't be afraid with that title, "You Can Never Go Home Again." It's a play on words. It is how to help you successfully get back home, and how the residential treatment facilities can help with that transition. So there's some great resources on there as well. All right, I'm done, Mark, I promise.
Oh, that was good. So so a couple of questions I'm going to respond to. So one, the second part of this was, we could have kept going as like a 2-hour session, but we just wanted to give people a break. So we kind of split it up into part 1 and part 2, but it's just it's a continuation of this discussion. The difference between QI and IA is simply, it's semantics. It's different systems have latched on to different, kind of terms to use. I do think independent assessor is more on the nose than qualified individual. However, the qualified individual is structured within legislation to kind of create some sort of idea that we're credentialing people. So there were kind of ideas about how you wanted, what the criteria you needed to meet to be a qualified individual, who's going to do that independent assessment. In a perfect world, actually, independent assessor is the one that we would use more frequently. And the other reason that some states chose to use truly independent assessors, meaning people outside their system. Other states asked for a waiver to that requirement and have people within their systems who have some degree of independence from the actual client work to help make those placement recommendations. So the terminology, like all things, not the most helpful, but I would just use those interchangeably.